Hi there, Chris here with another quick tip for you all. In this video, we're going to take a look at creating a ceramic bone or ancient kind of bone kind of look on a Necron model. And so get us started, we're going to have this little Necron warrior all ready to go. And as you can see, he's already been base coated and he's been inked and everything like that. And so now we're going to add some Rakarth flesh. This is going to be the beginning of our bone, ancient bone kind of texture. With the ceramic bone in the initial question, it often has a very porous feeling and it is very just kind of this really stark white. And I didn't really feel like it was something that would be transferred very well to the model. And so to go with an ancient kind of bone, I chosen to go this route as I'm sure really what what they're looking for is a ancient kind of bone, old kind of bone, not quite a ceramic. A ceramic would be more along the lines of the texture rather than the appearance. And so as you can see here, we simply just lay out a base coloring on each of the little sections here, and I just did like the face, the shoulders, the arms, basically the big bulbous areas of the Necron. Next, we're going to take some Rakarth flesh and some Screaming Skull. We're going to mix this in a 1-to-1 mix ratio, roughly a 1-to-1 mix ratio. As I always say, it's not entirely accurate as to how much paint you're exactly grabbing each time you grab a little dollop of paint and throw it onto the palette. And basically, we're just going to begin laying in a highlight. And for the skull, you can see I draw lines following those lines falling down the cranium, like the side of the head by the temples. Grab the cheekbones, the top of the nose, the eyebrows, and grab the teeth and the jaw. Usually leaving the inside of the temple type areas darker, as well as the inside of the jaw line as well. For the shoulder portions, I simply begin by drawing in these little streaks in the drawing out towards the outer edges of the panels, and each of the little sections on the arm and leg, I'm going to highlight the bottom portion, or if you can imagine the limb was outstretched, it would be the bottom portion of that as well. Just to kind of keep it all kind of feeling kind of uniform and, consistent. Again, you can see we're simply just going to draw the streaks up the leg. Again, this is to create more of that bone-like texture with the striations and everything like that inside there. Again, we're going for an old, kind of ancient, kind of bone kind of look. Maybe he's got like a bone shell or something that fits over top of his endoskeleton. I don't know. Who knows? Seraphim Sepia is next, and this is just going to begin shading and creating some more warmth and depth within the color. Now, with a lot of the sepia here, I'm going to draw it out towards the outer edge where it's getting brightest. Now, that might not make a whole lot of sense at the moment, but you will see here soon enough. And so basically it's to tint the overall feeling of the bone, but as well as creating a bit of depth in each of those little bone sections here. You can see we're going to highlight we're going to shade the temple area and the jawline, as well as the eye sockets and such, and then we'll probably hit the entire skull with the color as well, just to bring a little bit more depth to it. Again, this is kind of an ancient kind of bone, kind of dirty kind of look. He's been sitting in the ground and he's finally emerged and he's covered in this bone material. Again, we're drawing this shade wash down towards the highlight. Again, not so much that it has to cover the highlight, but it ends just before the highlight. You see on the thigh pad, it works out really the best here. Again, it's really kind of on these larger areas that you can really kind of achieve this kind of look. It has this kind of this bone kind of antler. If any of you have ever seen like a bone handle for a knife, that's kind of what the look of it is kind of going for here. Is that kind of a look to it, Screaming Skull all on its own with a little bit of a medium just to help thin it out just a little bit. And again, this is to build up the highlights once again. Again, on the face, I do it just on the eyebrows, following just a bit of the cranium up towards the top, the cheekbones, as well as the top of the nose, as well as above the front. I think it's the mandible, I believe we call it, on the part that's right under the nose where your teeth are connected. Anyway, the jaw, and then I'm picking out the teeth as well, just to give him that nice scary skull appearance. as we all love with our Necrons. And also I will follow the outside edge of the skull as well. The shoulder plates, I will follow the outside edge as well, and then begin to bring that those little striation lines back into the mixture as well. Again, the sepia is thoroughly dry before we even attempt to go in with this color. And again, the striation lines are there just to, again, bring texture and bring that bony kind of feeling back to the armor. Again, we want it to have a very organic kind of feeling to it. So, and here you can see we're simply just drawing those striations up the limb again. Again, with the limbs there, with the bicep and the forearm, it is kind of tough because it is kind of small, and so you do have to be very, very careful. On the thigh pad here, I found that it worked the best because, again, it had lots of length to build the color and get that transition of color built up as well. Again, it's just reestablishing that highlight and then just bringing those striation lines up. Again, trying to make sure that they stay nice and thin. You don't want to work them too big and too thick, as it'll kind of just it'll just feel kind of messy. Whereas if you come in with the tiny little lines and lots of them, it gives a really interesting texture. And again, it's just it will give you that ceramic bone kind of look where, again, as I mentioned, if you reference ceramic bone, it's very, very porous, and it's got a lot of pits and holes and things like that in it. And so, again, it's kind of what we're trying to go for here. White scar, all on its lonesome again. And this, again, is just going to be our final highlight for a lot of these bone areas. As you can see, we're just catching just the top of the brow. We're going to catch just a bit of the cheekbone, bit of the nose, bit of the teeth, and bit of the jawline. And again, this is going to be just to reestablish a lot of these little striation lines in the bone as well, bringing out that texture. But again, we're giving us that nice bright whiteness that we would come to expect from a bone that is fairly ancient and old. Again, you can see the highlight doesn't go quite as far. Again, we're just looking to catch just some of those corners and edges. Again, we're just looking to really kind of bring out those little details. Again, it's just tiny little brush strokes. See for the top of the knee here, we're just going to bring just a couple lines here and there right along. We're going to try and follow some of those other patterns or some of those other lines that we had laid out earlier. Again, it's not entirely key that you follow what you've previously laid out, but it does help to build up those color transitions and kind of help create that definition of the lines in the surface. It just overall will help create that visual look. As you can see on the shoulder pads there. And you see on the leg or the thigh pad here, how it's starting to get a really nice kind of bone-like look to it. And essentially that's what we're going for all those sections. That's about the best example of it. But that is it. That is ceramic bone or ancient bone, whichever way you want to look at it. And it's as easy as that. And do not be afraid to give it a try. We've got even more painting tutorials in the Silver Mini Wargaming Vault. You can watch another one today about how I continue the Thousand Suns paint job by applying it by brush using red paints. Just click the link in the video description below to watch it right now. If you don't have a Mini Wargaming Vault membership, you can click on the link and sign up for a free 7-day trial. Make sure that you get the Silver membership so that you can access the painting tutorials, and you get instant access to over 1,000 painting tutorials already in the vault. And so thank you for watching, and happy wargaming.